Welcome to the SAG Women's Committee event here in Miami. It is our first event. We've just watched The Invisible Woman that was produced by Susan Davis, and now begins the panel. I am Ellen Walker, and it is an honor to be chair of the Regional Branch Division of the National SAG Women's Committee. I serve with the two national co-chairs, L. Scott Caldwell in Hollywood and Leslie Shreve in New York. We have a very active group of women on the committee, and one member is here in person today, Sue Bogotski. I want to give you the genesis of how this event has come to fruition. It has become my passion on the National Women's Committee to address at almost every single meeting the subject of women over 50 in our business. In doing some research, I found that at this moment in time, there are 300 million Americans, 100 million of which are over 50. Just a pitiful amount of advertising and marketing dollars goes to this group. Why? That is the main reason why we're here today, to try to find out. There has been an assumption, as you just saw in the movie, that 18 to 49 is coveted because over 50 means you don't change products. Well, I think the only old thing here is the mindset. Nobody has been able to tell me how long this statistic has been in place or if it's recently been tested. Obviously, our ability to work in film and television and commercial is greatly influenced by those people with the money. A well-known casting director once said, "Sadly, those of you over 50 can just look forward to commercials on Depends, ARP, and Medicare." However, as I stated to the National Committee, when we look at Helen Mirren, Sally Field, Meryl Streep, Glenn Close, Susan Sarandon, to name just a few, all playing smart, sexy, involved women. I then requested the National Committee to support an event here in Miami. They were extremely generous in giving us a major grant to look into this question. I do believe that between the Invisible Woman that you just saw and the important information our esteemed panel will promulgate, we will have a new direction. I also personally believe that it is more than time for us to jump on the bandwagon and insist we have arrived. We need to let those with the money know that we do buy products, we do change cars, and we change a lot of things when wooed. When that message gets through, we will be in great demand for looking, thinking, and being as we are today. Thank you. I'd like to begin with Dr. Barbara Kahn, and she's our first, and let me introduce you for a moment. Dr. Barbara Kahn has recently returned to the Wharton School as the Patty and J.H. Baker Professor of Marketing and Director of the J.H. Baker Retailing Center. Prior to rejoining Wharton, Barbara served as Dean and Shine Family Chair Professor of Marketing at the School of Business Administration at the University of Miami. Between 1982 and 2006, Kahn was one of the world's 7 most published authors of articles in the most prestigious marketing journals. She co-authored The Grocery Revolution, the new focus on the consumer. Barbara has been elected president of the Association of Consumer Research, elected president of the Journal of Consumer Research Policy Board, and selected as a Marketing Science Institute trustee. Dr. Kahn.
Thank you. Basically, I represent the money, that's the way I figure it. Because I'm in marketing, I'm in business. And business people are very practical. I don't think that they have a point of view on this. I think that they just think, where's the money, who's buying? And if those are the people who are buying, then we'll make advertising or do things, we'll make products for them. So, given that, what I put together here is some material. I saw it wasn't in your folder, but there were 2 very recent articles in the New York Times and Wall Street Journal on this very topic. And so I kind of summarized what they said and put in a little bit of my own thought on it, just to give you an idea of how business people or marketers would look at this problem. And just a tiny little lesson. I've been teaching for too long tonight, give you a little lesson. From a marketing point of view, the core of marketing is to understand what the customer wants. That's it. If I understand what the customer wants, I give you what That's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you the product like that. I'm going to give you advertising like that. I'm going to distribute the product to where you are. I'm going to price it according to what you want. That's the central theory of, it's called the principle of customer value. I understand what you want, and I try to produce it, okay? So one of the things that I would say, looking at this, and I thought that was a wonderful film, and one of the very best documentaries I've ever seen. I thought it was terrific. But basically you say, well, what's the problem? And sometimes the problem are, not you necessarily, but people out there and what they want. Because what marketers are doing are giving people what they want. So you do have to make sure people want different things. So let me just give you some background for the New York Times. Can you see this? Okay, so this was something that was said in the film. Ellen just said it, and it is absolutely true. Marketers typically shy away from women over 60 because they focus on that 18 to 45 demographic. And particularly, by the way, college students. They're really interested in what college students have to say. And why is that? Well, first of all, it's the belief that women over 60 are an unfashionable demographic group that might doom their products with younger hipsters.
Oh my.
So if an older woman is holding something, I don't want that. And I mean, I'm almost 60. I see where my mother shops. I'm never going in the store my mother shops, even if I like those clothes. So that's a problem if people are not seen as hip and cool. The common wisdom is that senior people don't buy. They're downsizing. They're getting rid of things. They're not buying things. So why should I waste my money on them if they're not buying? They're not starting households. They're not buying new clothes. So the typical things that marketers go after, they're not buying because they're downsizing. And this was also mentioned in the film, but it seems to be the evidence that people are pretty brand loyal as they get older. You don't want to make 100 decisions every day of your life. So you go into the grocery store and you don't sit and agonize, what toothpaste should I buy? You don't tend to do that. You bought what you bought last time. It's a real easy heuristic. And I don't think you're going to really change that. And so if you are really brand loyal, then I'm going to go after the person who is going to change. And if I can get them to start using my product, then I get that laziness for the rest of their lives because they're young. And I have them for 50 years. Older people are older. They don't have as much shelf life. I mean, this is just practical from the business point of view, so it makes sense to focus on these younger ones. So marketers target the college students, the young people starting out. They're much more open to market cues. Their preferences are more flexible, more liable, and then investment in them can last a lifetime. That makes good business sense. However, and this is what the Wall Street Journal and New York Times pointed out, and people have been saying it, and here's what the data is. In 1970, almost 10% of the U.S. population was 65 and older. So you can kind of see that on the graphs. In 2010, 13% was 65 and older, and in 2050, close to 22% will be 65 and older. That means there's a lot of people there, and the numbers are there. That's the baby boomer generation, and marketers are starting to notice. And if they're only starting to notice now because now there are enough people to notice and to care about. The other thing that's different is baby boomers are different. They're a different generation of older people, and that's just from the research, from the data. It's not a judgment. In 2009, baby boomer households in the U.S. spent about $2.6 trillion. That gets people's attention. 76 million boomers already account for an estimated half of total U.S. consumer spending. Boomers are living longer and they're living better. Boomers are used to being independent. And rather than passing on their wealth to future generations, they plan on spending it themselves. That is music to marketers' ears. But here's the problem, and this is where you get, and I'm interested to see what you have to say in this. Baby boomers don't want anyone to think they're old. They don't like things that are targeted to old people. Baby boomers are old, we're the new 50, or 50 is the new 30, or whatever all those things are. People are always talking about, I don't look my age. I don't, so they're not reveling in their age. They're acting younger. And that means marketers are going to cater to that. So one thing though I thought was very different, the research suggests that there's less difference in the aesthetic taste between young people and boomers than between boomers and their elders. So what appeals to a boomer is the same kind of thing as appeals to the younger generation. That might be a problem though for acting. because the boomers want to seem young. They want to buy young things. And therefore, it might be that the commercials should be about young things. You see what I'm saying? It depends what you want there. Here's how these are two articles, how marketers are trying to develop products for older consumers. Older consumers don't like products that telegraph agedness. So anything that does that, that's not going to work. You can't make old products. The old people won't buy them, the young people won't buy them. So it has to be young, hip products. There are things like whitening toothpaste or baked potato chips, because older people are more concerned about fitness and diet. It's harder to lose weight as you get older. So they're the ones who are really interested in those but if you target those products for older people, then no one will buy it. But if you target them as hip products, then everybody will buy them. So that's kind of the position of the marketers. And so what companies are doing is they're trying to make products that are more appealing to older generations without telegraphing that this is an old person's product. And so what they'll do is they have been making the typeface bigger on packaging. People can't read without their glasses, so they make it so it's bigger. But you just don't notice that. You're going to be attracted to a package that you can read better than one that you can't, right? That's the way marketers think. That's the kind of thing. They also get rid of yellows and blues in packaging because their colors are hard to see. So what they've done is try to figure out how do older people actually act, and then market products to meet those needs. And so they're increasing the font size, they raised up the shelf spaces, they've done all these kinds of things. And one of the articles, I forgot if it was the New York Times or Wall Street Journal, had a really interesting thing. At MIT, they produced these outfits for researchers to wear. And what the outfits do is emulate how old people go through the world. And so what these outfits do are, first of all, they wear yellow pane goggles because you can't see so well through the yellow goggles. So your vision gets a little weak. So what is it like to look through the grocery store when you can't really see well? So that's what this is doing. The other thing they do is they put compression knee bands on your knees because old people can't bend as easily. And so if you've got these things that make it hard to bend, then you'll see what it's like to go through a store. You can't put something down here. Nobody who's over 50 is going to buy anything that's down here because you can't bend. So that's what they have on there. They also have plastic shoes with uneven styrofoam pads with their soles so their surgical gravity's off. So and they put on surgical gloves so it feels like you're all thumbs. And then they make the researchers, the market researchers, walk around life wearing these things so you see what it feels like to be old. And then they develop products and grocery and things like that to cater to this without looking old, so it's kind of hidden. So that's kind of the way the marketers think. You've got it, what do people really want? We'll give it to you. We don't have an agenda. We just want to deliver customer value. So that's my 10 minutes.